Hi everyone, Shane R. Monroe here. Let's get to it. The RAM expansion unit from Commodore maxed out at 512 megabytes, but third-party units went up to 16 megabytes, which is crazy because that could hold almost 100 C64 disks. In this demo, Nuvi, we're going to use the REU to load in what looks like media or movie files, and then we're going to play it back with the Nuvi player. Now, these aren't true videos. These are sort of tricks of uncompressed frames being flipped through at high speed from the REU. And in the case of Kylie here, there is no audio attached. Okay, that's enough of that. I'm an old man. All right, so let's do something that's a little more friendly. Let's go to The Simpsons. You load the file into the REU first and then execute the Nuvi player. The 16 megabytes gives them plenty of room to do some pretty impressive stuff. Again, this has no music or audio, but you can still tell it's pretty impressive. It's even more impressive when you're not zoomed up to the screen. But yeah, this is pretty neat. 16 megabytes doesn't seem like a lot of space, but when you're dealing with low resolution, it's a lot. Now I'm going to play this one for a little while because it's that impressive. This is the Dallas TV show intro. Just sit back and enjoy. This does have audio. I'll leave some links down below so you can see what these files originally looked like before they were converted into Nuvis. But pretty impressive. It's a little bit of fun to start off this demo. You can see here we have a RAM expansion unit and the size is 16 megabytes. So that's what gives us the power to do Nuvis. Next up, Globe. Globe requires the REU of at least 512 kilobytes, but we're also going to tap the turbo feature of the Commodore 64 U to help us along here. All right, so you can see when you run this thing for the first time, it does say that it detected the REU, so that's perfect. But it also says 7 minutes for pre-rendering. That can't be right, right? 7 minutes? So you can see here, it's rendering a frame every time the color of the screen changes. And if we hold down the space bar, you can see what it's doing. It's rendering one tiny frame of a larger video. Now, this is all CPU stuff, so we could literally speed this up by using the turbo features. So I'm going to load up a config that has turbo turned on, and we're going to try this again. Yeah, it was originally supposed to be, 7 minutes? Now we're going to be looking at almost 11 seconds. That's quite the change. And you can see that the demo runs really, really well. And let's go and turn the acceleration off just for fun and see what that looks like. So we have 48 megahertz here. Let's just turn that off and let's go back to the map. It still looks great. I mean, it's still running the same speed. So the turbo didn't really help us make the globe spin faster, but it did help us render the frames faster. So that's sort of a combo platter, right? You get turbo and you get REU in the same demo. I know. Everybody wants to see games. Show me games with turbo, Shane. Well, okay, if you insist. We're going to start off with the most notoriously slow game on the Commodore 64 that has some of the most potential, Stunt Car Racer. This game is a huge fan favorite. It also runs like complete dog crap, but it's a great example for testing out the turbo features of the C64U. So I'm just going to get myself through all the menus, and we're going to see what this looks like unaccelerated so that you can see exactly what it is I'm talking about. Now, there's two parts to this little demo here. One is it does a track preview. That's pretty slow. It's actually slower with some of the other maps, but this is a good one. Now let's see what the actual game looks like. This is what we were supposed to be playing, folks. This is what passed for entertainment back in the 80s, and we loved it. So they're lifting up your car to drop you on this track. You drop on the track, and you drive extraordinarily slowly. Yeah, hard driving would have been another great demo, but everybody loves Stunt Car Racer, so I thought it would be better if we used this. Now you can see it's okay. It's not as bad as you remembered. It's playable. But what if we sped it up to 3 times or 3 megahertz? Let's see what happens then. Well, that was a lot quicker. the track rendering was a lot. Oh, wow. Here we go. Now there's a lot of flickering going on. You see that? So there's a little whoa, oh, who cares about the flickering? Damn, look at this thing. Wow, this is awesome. This is really cool. This is something you could have never really done on a real 64. Well, you know, without weird hardware, expensive hardware. But yeah, how fun is this? How neat. Now, I do want to show you another lesser known game because one, I think the game deserves more exposure. And two, it was one of those games when I was growing up that I thought, damn it, if this was just a little bit faster, it would be completely awesome. The name of the game is Stellar 7, which is a complete blatant ripoff of Battlezone, and that's fine. I'm going to do a little clipping here. See how slow those polygons render? Yeah, I'm going to do a lot of clipping out of the loading here. Then the doors open. And they open. And they open. And they're still opening. Yeah, something tells me it's not supposed to be this slow, but it's what the Commodore gives us. Okay, now the doors are open. Oh, yes. What is this, 5 FPS maybe? Yeah, I kind of know what I'm doing. That's the only reason I'm able to hit anything. But yeah, okay. So this is probably not what one would consider playable by today's standards. I mean, it's still, listen, for a Commodore 64, it's pretty impressive. But it would definitely be served by a little turbo time. It's turbo time. So what are we going to set that to? Well, let's be aggressive. Let's set it to something like 6 megahertz, 6 times the speed. That should be fun, right? Oh, I set the speed and it locked up. Now, this does happen. I left it in here just so you can see that this sometimes happens when you change in the middle of the game. We're going to reload the game instead to take advantage of that speed change. Hopefully, it'll behave. Of course, it'll behave. You know I already tested this in advance. I'm going to clip off a lot of the loading here. Here's that cool intro. Watch this. Watch carefully. Wow. Okay, that's huge. Oh, wow. The doors open really, really fast. The game, well, yeah, the game's probably a little too fast. 6 might have been a little aggressive. All right, maybe that's twice as fast as it should be. So maybe we should try 3. All right, let's try 3. And I clipped a whole bunch of stuff so you didn't have to watch the load. Now, this looks great. Look how the door opens. Yeah. Yeah, this is good. Still might be a little fast. 2 might be better, but I don't know. 3 rubs me just right. But here's 2 examples of how turbo can make your gaming a lot more pleasant. All right. Well, that was fun, right? That's probably what a lot of you stuck around for. Please stick around for the rest of the demo. I know you wanted to see games, but I've got more cool stuff to show you. So next up is Blue REU. You do have to preload the REU data into the RAM expansion unit. You can see here we don't have it turned on, so it's not going to work. All right, let's go ahead and load our config. Okay, we loaded the REU file. Did you see that? Okay, did this sort of out of order. Now we'll turn on the REU. Now we're ready for the demo. Sorry, I was a little out of order there. All right, so now the demo's actually running. Again, we're going to clip some of this demo. We're going to kind of jump around the demo just so you guys can see some of the cooler parts without waiting around forever. Now, this is already kind of cool. It looks very Amiga-like. So they're saying even right now in 1985, Commodore released the REU RAM expansion and nobody ever made demos for it, but we're going to today. So again, you have to consider what we're seeing here, right? This looks like an Amiga screen, honestly, except for maybe some of the high dithering. But look at that. What is that? That was crazy. Let's do it again. That's pretty neat, right? And they tell you, even specifically because it's a demo, they tell you what they did. 320 by 216 colors, full frame. Pretty neat. Now we're going to take a little peek at some Nuvi technology in here coming up. See, this looks great. I mean, outside of a little bit of dithering, it looks a lot like an Amiga demo. Okay, there's a little Nuvi action. Still very impressive. Rickrolled in 2026. Good stuff. I didn't speed that up. They did that as part of the demo. All right. Next up is another demo called Expand by Bonsai. This is more of your traditional demo, so I wanted to show you a few things in here. Again, I believe this required the RAM expansion unit, no turbo. There you go, REU. Oh, sorry. You didn't have a RAM expansion unit. All right, let's load our settings again. And we'll run it again. Just want to prove to you guys that these things don't run stock. You have to have extra stuff in here. All right, now REU detected and test. It's going to test the REU's memory. You know, I always love when demos start off by messing with the last screen that was on this, the last data that was on the screen. I always thought that was a really cool thing. And it's still no less cool now. REU porn. Excellent work, gentlemen. Excellent work. REU porn. Love it. That's pretty cool, though. That's like a high bitrate image there. And again, I'm going to put a blue line at the top. You probably noticed that earlier for those that want to skip through particularly long scenes. But yeah, I thought this was really cool. Again, you're talking about a Commodore 64 way back when doing this. It is expanded, of course, right, with the REU, but we're not doing any turbo action here or anything like that. But it's pretty cool. And again, I'm going to jump around the demo a little bit just to show you different things that it does. I've always been a sucker for the scroller, the sprite scroller or the text scroller, and they take it sort of to new heights using the REU. That's pretty cool. I'm assuming none of this is pre-rendered, but the power of the REU allows them to do some pretty cool stuff, change the colors, change the type of curl. That's pretty neat. All right, so here's a little SID visualizer. Always like these visualizers, especially like on the 64. Chaotic, but cool. All right, and then, of course, the old big logos. This was a main staple for demos. The demo group would take their logo, make it really, really cool, and then, like, do things to it, scroll it around, zoom it, pixelize it, all that good stuff. And Bonsai's no different. They throw their hat in the ring with it as well. I love the zoom. That's my favorite part. And this just blew my mind. I mean, it's all trickery. Of course, it's not real, but check this out. Light source. 3D scrolling characters with a light source. Damn, that's cool. I'm sorry, but that's freaking cool. Very neat stuff for a Commodore 64. All right, last up, what you've probably been waiting the whole video for. It's time to use some serious gaming REU power. There's not a ton of games that force the use or use the REU specifically, but this one, this modern port certainly does. Probably already know where we're going with this. But again, no REU. I wanted you guys to see it requires the REU. You have to turn it on. Of course, we have config files to help us do that. See my config video for more data there. And let's try this again. We're going to clip out some of the loading because this video's already run long. Use their fast loader. Use their fast loader. Trust me on this one. We're going to play the game. Little downtime here. Sounds a lot better in person through a speaker. Still impressive though. Now we load the main game. Again, I'm going to speed her up a little bit. Load full game into the REU. Hells yes. All right. No drive loading time for me. Wow. That's impressive. Just the title screen. Let's do it. This is really impressive. I mean, you look at it and you think, oh yeah, well, it's Sonic the Hedgehog, duh. Yeah, but don't forget, Sonic came out on a 16-bit hardware platform considerably after the Commodore 64's reign. For somebody to actually pull this off is pretty damn impressive. I know what you're thinking. It's running maybe a little slow. Maybe I could turbo that up a little bit. Well, great minds think alike. So I thought maybe 3 times faster would be good. Let's do that. Well, let's see. Ooh, well, It doesn't appear to be a ton faster, but it certainly does trash the bottom of the screen. Okay, well, I mean, was it successful? I don't know. I think we should just pause on that one and say the turbo isn't for everything and just enjoy the game as is, which is still impressive. Listen, I hope you enjoyed taking a look at these demos and seeing how you can use your Commodore 64 Ultimate to the max. If you like what we're doing here, of course, you guys know the drill. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, and we'll see you next time. Take care.